Hi, I'm Seth. Welcome back to the channel. I am a Hufflepuff, and today we're going to be talking about Harry Potter, specifically the creatures that are found in it, the mythical, magical, fantastical beast. Just the ones that show up in the actual Harry Potter movies, though. Not interested in that follow-up series because that would make my list way longer than I want it to be. We're going to be ranking them today on how much we are glad they do not exist in our real world. So first up, we've got goblins. They essentially are just people when it comes to Harry Potter stuff. So I'm going to put them in the no big deal. Yeah, they just do real people jobs and are talked to like real people, though some people discriminate against them and whatever. And they aren't, maybe the nicest. But hey, there's a lot of people that aren't the nicest. So it's just little people. So it's wouldn't really change things if they'd always been around. So they're going to be right there. Next, we get ghosts. And the thing is, I'm not really sure what makes someone be a ghost in Harry Potter. So let's look. So according to what I understand, the ghosts in Harry Potter, they just kind of decide that they want to stick around. Though it looks like maybe they don't always like this decision. So let's think. Ghosts, do we want them around? And do they want to be around? I don't think so. I think that there's, I mean, of course, there are some people that believe in ghosts, that they walk around and everything. I'm going to say, when it comes to the ghosts like this, Moaning Myrtle, is it Creeper, and Nearly Headed Snake, he's cool, but it's like, do you really just want to have these people around forever? I'm going to say rather not. If they were here, it's more like you'd kind of learn to live with it. They do. It's not like the ghosts are going around murdering people and everything. It just kind of seems like it'd be more of a hassle than would be worth. So, but again, if they were around forever, you'd make it work. Now, when it comes to giant three-headed dogs like Fluffy in the first Harry Potter, it's hard to say. Giant dogs are already kind of scary, and they're not even that big. Plus, this one's got 3 heads, and it just ain't natural. I'm going to say it's a really good thing that these kind of apex predators aren't around, because imagine a dog that's the size of a house. If he's just running around, he's going to be murdering everybody. And so I'm going to go ahead and put him up, and thank goodness there's no giant 3-headed dogs. The same is going to go for trolls. But which one is worse, a troll or a 3-headed dog? I think that, trolls are, at least this one, pretty dumb. I'm going to just say, we'll leave it there. 3-headed dogs, I'm more thankful that they don't exist than trolls. Now, one thing that I'm glad doesn't exist more than 3-headed dogs is dragons. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are like, but dragons are so cool. But if dragons were really around, man, life would not be great. In fact, I think life would be pretty dystopian, which, you know what, I think we might talk about in a couple weeks. Just in general, dystopias, and maybe even specifically one that involves dragons. But dragons, you're going to get toasted and roasted, and they're not very nice. In the movie, I do like the look and everything of like the white, pale one that guards the stuff in the bank. Now, you can tell probably by now, I'm not really an expert when it comes to Harry Potter. I would say I am a fan of the Harry Potter franchise. It is, not something that I was obsessed with as a kid. I heard the first 3 books in grade school when they were coming out, and then I aged out of when they, where they would read them to you at school. And so I read 1 more, and then I've watched all the movies since then. But, they're cool, but not something I'm obsessed with. So undoubtedly, I will get things wrong in this video. So what's the most egregious mistake I make in this video? Let me know below. And while you're down there, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you. All right, let's move on to unicorns. Do we actually want them around? Like, they're a horse, but they're more deadly. And their blood is good for, healing, but then you're cursed? Let me go ahead and look this up. A horse-like creature with a horn protruding from its forehead that are considered pure. Their hairs are one of the 3 main wand cores, and their horn is used in some potions. It is said in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone that if one drinks a unicorn's blood, it will give that person longer life. However, it also eternally curses that person. Here's a question I have. If we're using horns from unicorns to make potions, but if we drink their blood, then we get cursed, even though like it's got healing properties. Like, do you cut off the horn of a unicorn and it doesn't kill it? Or is it just the act of actually drinking the blood that's bad? Too many questions here. I don't really want unicorns around. I know that might be controversial. I know my daughter will hate that. But like, it's not like one of those where it's like, thank goodness there's no unicorns. Like, life would be so much worse. People would be getting stabbed by unicorns all the time, though, I think. Next, we get centaurs. Now, when we are talking about like these kind of sentient beings, you know, I feel bad if I was going to be like, they can't. Like, why are they here? But I mean, I guess I did that with ghosts, so I guess I don't feel that bad about it. But I think I'm going to put them above, more so in like, that'd be neat if they were around. It wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, whatever, life would be the same. Because if there was just a bunch of people who, you know, were part horse running around, life would be way different. And so we'd have to have cars that worked for them. Like, would cars even exist the way that they do? Because just because somebody is a horse or half of a horse doesn't mean they want to run around all the time necessarily. Like, I've got 2 legs. I don't want to run around everywhere, though. Now, house elves. If this one's, I guess, tricky too. Like, if house elves, then I'm going to put them here with the goblins. If house elves existed, that's no problem. If house elves existed in the way that they do in Harry Potter, like as indentured servants and slaves, essentially, even though I guess a lot of them in the books, it says that a lot of them like it, I ain't touching that. I'm just going to say, like, if they are just existing, like Dobby is around, you know, Dobby's cool. And so if there's just more people like Dobby hanging around, you know, then yeah, why not? No big deal on house elves. There's a couple on this list that's like, do they count as a creature because they're like plants? And like, one of those is the Devil's Snare. Really glad that that's not around. Like a plant that like grabs you and will like suffocate you and kill you. But really, it would kind of be like how we worry about sinking sand a lot when you're a kid. You think it's going to be all the time. You read about it and you hear in movies and cartoons like, oh, the best way to survive it. And so the same thing. I don't think that wizards necessarily would run into a Devil's Snare a lot. So I probably wouldn't either, because I can't imagine it's just going to be growing like in my backyard. It's not going to be like a patch of Devil's Snare is there next to like the sunflowers that are growing. Same's going to go for the Whomping Willow. I'm about to put that above the Troll because, you know, I don't know. Maybe this goes even higher than... I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it right below the Dragon, because here's the thing about the Whomping Willow. Imagine you're just walking through a forest and there's like, you lean up against a tree and all of a sudden the tree just starts smashing you and you die. Like, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. Thank goodness trees aren't just alive. Because also then think about even more so that like how ethically we'd have to be thinking about like, where do we log? How do we get this and that? And like right now, we're like, paper is something where it's like, you know, you get it. You don't worry about it too much. Whomping Willow's around is like, man, you can't go cut down that forest because you can't like cut down like all the trees around the Whomping Willow. Then he's going to be lonely. Do Whomping Willows get lonely? I don't know, but I'm really glad they're not real, because this I feel like would be one you would run into more often. So Whomping Willows, thank goodness, not real. Mandrakes are up next. Again, like a plant-based thing. A plant where you accidentally pick it or like it and you hear it screaming and you die, not good. I'm gonna put it here above the 3-headed dogs. I think it's, you know, like where we think about, like people think like, oh, sharks. Sharks are bad because they look scary. But then sharks don't really kill that many people, like annually. And it's like hippos you got to look out for. It's like these things that we wouldn't think, oh, this is the thing that's going to kill people. I think mandrakes, they're real. People are going to be accidentally pulling those things up all the time. Kids are going to be like accidentally unearthing them and just, they're going to scream and then you're dead. But of course, I guess any scenario wherewith, and then the kid is dead is just never good. And so like mandrakes are like on the highest. No thank you for that. Now Cornish Pixies are a super nuisance, not great, but it doesn't seem like there's something that are around everywhere, right? Because like they show up and like they don't really know what to do with them. I guess Cornish Pixies, like if they were real, we'd kind of think about them maybe like we do with like wasps. You know, they're not good. You get used to them. Like I don't want to put everything in the thank goodness, but this really is like just at the bottom of that one. It's like they're not good. I really would rather not they exist. But if they did exist, sure we would just figure out better ways to get rid of them. Sorry, magic people, but if Cornish Pixies are around us real folk, I'm sure we would develop some kind of poison for them. Now, finally, we're going to get to something where we can just be glad that it exists, and that is a phoenix. Anything with healing properties is good, right? You know, its tears are good. It's not something that kills it. If it cries that we have to, you know, murder it to get these healing properties from it. Plus, you know, they live and they die and they live and they die. So I guess maybe we'd have to worry about population control or something. But, you know, maybe you want more of them around. They could really, you know, help out when it comes to that. So I'm going to put them down here for, I sure wish that they were real. Something that's going to go completely on the other end of that. In fact, I'm going to put this even above dragons. Is the Acromantula, which is a giant spider. I'm with Ron on this, not to the same degree. Ron's afraid of spiders in Harry Potter, and I don't like spiders, mostly because they surprise you, and I don't like getting surprised in that way, where like you're just hanging out and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, there's something there, or it's crawling on me and I didn't even know it existed. If I can see a spider coming, it's no big deal. It's like whatever, especially if we're outside. I'm just like, leave him be. This guy, he's underground, and he talks, and spiders start talking, then again, we're gonna have to start feeling bad or worse about killing them. And I don't want to feel worse about that, because I already feel a little bit bad when I do it. But yeah, giant spiders, thank goodness, not real. Basilisks, giant snakes. I mean, there's big snakes in real life, but not big snakes where like if you look at them, like you die, right? Again, anything that's like if you just kind of accidentally happen upon it and you die, like there's enough things like that in real life. We don't need to have big mythical creatures like that. And then on top of that, it's like fangs are super powerful. Like, no, these guys, no, they're even worse. Basilisks, thank goodness. Now a Shrunken Head. I know this is kind of like ghosts, in that like being alive after you've died, but in this way would be even worse, I think. So I'm gonna put like it's worse than ghosts, but it's not so much like because it would exist, but it's just like that maybe it would happen to you, right? That you would have to live on as this. I don't know how clear it is, if it's the same personality, or maybe it's just an enchanted item and I'm not understanding that well enough. I'm trying to look for actual things that are, you know, alive, but you know, rather they don't exist. Just let dead things be dead. Shrunken Heads, rather not, but you know. And also, wait, real quick, if Shrunken Heads were real, and you know, I mean, I know Shrunken Heads are real, but like if they are in Harry Potter, using it as like a thing that you hang from your mirror is a pretty messed up thing to do. The Monster Book of Monsters is going to be next up, and it's, you know, it's going to be the low end of rather not for me. It's almost like even like a not a real big deal, but again, this thing's just kind of scary, right? I don't want to go into the library and accidentally pull out the wrong book. And we shouldn't have to have books in the library that are, you know, like strapped down so that way they don't accidentally like bite off some kid's finger. I like to let my kids go at the library and just look at things without being afraid of them coming back with less fingers than they had at the beginning of the day. So, yeah, that one's going to be, I'd rather not, but I'm sure if it existed, we would take the proper precautions on it. Another real big one, and there are recorded conversations of me really getting into Dementors with Tim, but yeah, Dementors. They're probably going to be like up here at the very tippity top. As a form of punishment, it sounds pretty awful. Like, the wizarding world is not good. Like, that, I think that's something we always need to remember. We look at it like, man, I wish I was a wizard and that I got to go to Hogwarts. It's like, no. Like, you may look like all the good stuff about it, but like, there's way too much bad stuff. Like, we know for a fact people can go to Azkaban for like things that they didn't really do. It happens multiple times in the stories of Harry Potter. And so the thought of like Dementors sucking out all of their happiness, goodness, life force, whatever it is that they actually do, it's just messed up. Dementors just are bad business. I mean, you just look at them and they're like the Grim Reaper. So not really the kind of thing like I would imagine you would want to put out there. It's like, this is our correctional system at work. Like, how you don't spin that in a way where it looks good for you. If like, and this is justice. Didn't Hagrid go to Azkaban at one point? Did Hagrid go to Azkaban? I'm gonna check. In 1993, Hagrid was sent to the wizarding prison Azkaban. That's messed up. Plus, can you kill a Dementor? Like, I know they got to use like their Patronuses to scare them away, like essentially like a magic flashlight, right? To blast them away. But like, if we shoot a Dementor, like this is a question we got to ask ourselves about any of these things. If you use a machine gun on it, will it die? Because if you can, that really brings down its scariness level, right? Whomping Willow. What happens if you cut down the Whomping Willow? Does it, like, do the pieces of it still whomp? Or does it die? Too many questions. So many questions. Next up, we've got Hippogriffs. Big flying animals that people can ride on change history, right? If they really existed, history would just be different. Just like, when we were talking about with the Centaurs. But, I don't think that they're going to be there. That'd be neat, sure. But they're also pretty scary, like, just as a thing, right? The Hippogriff, Buckbeak, he's, like, not particularly friendly and gets killed, and then time travel saved, right? Or maybe just time travel saved because of it. They got big talons and scary beaks. This is a tough one for me. Because I kind of want to put it in no big deal. I mean, it would be neat, yes, if there were flying things. But is Buckbeak and Hippogriffs what we want to have be those flying things? I feel like they'd be picking up kids. Like, imagine you live in a place where the Hippogriffs run wild, right? There are wild Hippogriffs. You would not be able to let a kid outside, right? You'd let little Timmy outside and be like, okay, have fun playing in the woods. And he'd run into a field and it would just happen all the time, right? Just Hippogriff would swoop in and you'd look and you'd be like, no! And there'd be like a whole section of like a whole genre of movies about people dealing with their Hippogriffs eating their kids. Is that what we want? No, rather not. Have to think about that. More so than unicorns, more so than ghosts. We're gonna put it at the top of rather not. I'd rather not. We would make it work, I'm sure. We just have to live underground. I think that's what it is. We have to live underground. Now, as bad as everything that's on the list already is, Boggarts are like even worse, right? Because they can turn into what you're afraid of, but do they have the powers of what you're afraid of? Yeah, no, so yes, and so Boggarts can even like do what the things you're afraid of can do. And so it's like, let's imagine, like, what if somebody's biggest fear is an atom bomb, right? And you like use a Boggart to blow up a city or something. Like, these are things that could happen, right? We can't have Boggarts, right? And the idea that nobody knows what it actually looks like. Number one, Boggarts are worse than everything. The only good thing a Boggart could do is turn into Alan Rickman, and we could have him back acting, right? So we would keep Neville around just so he could like have a Boggart be Alan Rickman. That'd be it. But besides that, thank goodness they're not real. Werewolves are going to go again up here. Thank goodness it's not real, because what an awful thing to turn into a monster like that, right? We all know about werewolves. I'm sure we'll talk about werewolves again sometime this year. You wouldn't want to be them. It's never something that people are stoked on unless they're like murderers, right? You can feel less bad about murdering people if you're a werewolf, but if you're a regular person and you get turned into a werewolf, you're like, not my favorite. So now we get to the Abraxan winged horse, and now we're talking about flying things where maybe it'd be okay. Let's talk about reasons why we're all right with these things. No unicorn horn, right? So that's good. No sharp talons or beaks. And outside of that, they're just like a horse. So I'm going to say, sure, that'd be neat to have around. Things we'd have to worry about. Horse poop. Horses don't poop just a little bit. It would not be great if like they're flying around. Like imagine like a horse pooping all over your car, right? Something to take into account. Something whenever you're wishing a magical creature was alive, you should always take into account. What's the poop situation going to be? Now, I'm not a big fan of the water in general. People drown way too much. So it's even worse when you start putting things like mermaids in there, or like they call them in the movies, a Selkie, right? And so like the little scary mermaid people, like I'd rather those don't exist. I'm going to say like, so these ones I'll say rather not they exist up here above the hippogriffs. But then these guys that be looking like little tentacled alien dudes, the Grindylow, they're going to go up into the, thank goodness they don't exist. It's one step above, but an important step above. Anything that's grabbing people and pulling them down in the water, like that's the stuff that I have nightmares about. Like drowning is up there for me in ways I'd rather not go out. Probably because it's up there on the list of ways that I actually could die. All right? Odds are I'm not going to die in an airplane crash. Odds are way more likely a river gets me. So anything that makes those odds go up, I don't want it around. We get another flying horse, the Thestral, which only people who have like had near-death experiences could see. I feel like we would understand what they are, right? Because they do in Harry Potter. They're like, yeah, that's what it is. And then it's like, it's not scary. It's not out to get you. It looks kind of scary, but like it's not going to murder you or anything. So I think I'm going to put these on, like, it's no big deal. But up on the more scary side of that. Like, it's no big deal, but no, not the best that it's around. And we would definitely get used to it. Because it doesn't seem like they're particularly, out to get you or anything. In fact, they can be pretty helpful. At least they are in what I remember from the movie. And so, yeah, they're no big deal. Now, giants in Harry Potter are proven to be able to mate with people because we have half giants, like Hagrid. And, I mean, it doesn't seem like they don't get along that well. There can be good ones, there can be bad ones, just like with people. So I'm going to put them up there by the Thestral, where it's like, it'd be no big deal if there were just bigger people around. But again, life would be different if we were having to accommodate for people that are like 20 feet tall or however tall it is. I think that's what I read. They could get up to like 25 feet tall. Gonna add the Pygmy Puff to the list I wish they were real, because it's just a little cute, fluffy guy. And who doesn't like those? The last magical creature we have on our list are the Inferious, which are essentially like, dead bodies that have been controlled by dark magic. So, like a zombie kind of situation. Guys, I don't think I need to tell you where this one is gonna go. It's just where on the list. Again, I don't think it's something that happens that often. So it's not really something we'd be worrying about at a time. But it is also really bad. So let's go ahead. Let's just put it right next to the Dementors. Not something you'd want to have happen. But then the creature that is the worst out of every creature in Harry Potter and just about anything else is, of course, the Muggle. Thank goodness they're not real. That's going to conclude today's tier list. Thank you so much for watching. What is your favorite Harry Potter creature? I want to know in the comments below. Did I put any of these in like the way wrong spot? Is there anything that you do a lot different? Make sure to like and subscribe. Share this video on any of your social media. That really does help a lot too. Take care, and we'll see you next Saturday.